So first of all, Peter Robinson, your reaction to Sinn Féin, who you say that the current phase of negotiations is now over?
Well, I think that negotiations can't be over until matters are resolved. I think the people of Northern Ireland recognise that anyone who steps away from the table at this stage endangers the whole process. Nobody wants to go back to the bad old days. People believe that, if anything, people should be working to improve the structures that we have and try and add to the devolution that we've already been successful in bringing about. So I think that people want engagement. They want us to continue until we get the job done. It is frustrating. I'm very frustrated that we haven't made more progress than we have. But the nature of negotiations is that one party can't sit down and say, time is running short, it's about time you came to our position. Negotiations are about getting accommodation, working out a way that is suitable to all parties. I felt some progress had been made over the last number of days, and I'm very disappointed at the remarks that have been made.
What are you expecting from Sinn Féin's Ard Collier over the weekend, and would you expect the two Prime Ministers to now be getting involved in a more direct way?
Well, I don't know what to expect. Every day is a surprise for me. I don't need any more excitement in my life just at the moment, but Sinn Féin surprised me today because I would have thought that there was every reason why I should have been sitting down today and dealing with issues. I know that they had the other political parties in and they briefed them. They seem to be rather surprised. They hadn't been told that the game was over. So they have a Unionist leader who wants to do business. I have the support of my party in resolving the outstanding issues. I'll still be at the table. I'm not walking away from the executive. I'm not leaving the Assembly behind. So I hope that we'll get down to business on Monday.
And what about the Prime Minister's involvement? Are you expecting that?
Well, I agree with Gerry Adams when he said to me that it is much better if we can deal with these issues ourselves. I think that we should be bringing all of the Assembly parties in, trying to resolve these issues. I'm happy to engage extensively with Sinn Féin on these matters, but I think the other political parties should be part of the process, particularly if we're wanting to get community support and encourage the people to support the devolution of policing and justice. I think that's the best way to do it. But if we're stuck and if we can't move forward, then facilitation becomes a necessity.
Now, in his blog entry, Gerry Adams appeared to be accusing you of bad faith. He said that the DUP were saying yesterday they were sitting around waiting for talks, but he had told you personally on Wednesday evening that the current phase of negotiations was over.
Well, if I counted the number of occasions when I've had those kind of remarks over the last number of months, I would never have turned up any day in the week. We're available for talks. I expect not all of their negotiating team and not all of their special advisors were involved in their officer group yesterday. We would have been happy to talk to people. There had been a meeting scheduled for Thursday with one of the issues that we were dealing with, which had been cancelled. But we're ready to talk about those issues. We're keeping calm on these matters. I hope everybody else sees the greater prize that can be gained by a successful outcome.
He also said you told them that you wouldn't negotiate on the Sabbath, and then you went off to attend these secret talks.
Well, I'm not sure how secret the talks are. Of course, I believe that there is great benefit for the people of Northern Ireland if the Unionist parties can reach an agreement. I think it's been a lifetime ambition, from my point of view, that we would have Unionist unity. It starts with cooperation, it builds up with electoral arrangements, bringing our two parties together. I hope that it can happen, and let's see what happens in the days, weeks and months ahead. But there are no agreements at this moment in time. I'll be very interested to hear the views of my party and officers in particular over the next day or so.
Do you think if we were to have an early Assembly election that you could possibly get into a single Unionist bloc with the Ulster Unionists and forestall the notion of Sinn Féin being the biggest party? Is that possible in the short period of time that you potentially have in front of you?
Well, those are matters that we would talk to the Ulster Unionists about. We wouldn't be dealing with it in this kind of manner. I think if Sinn Féin is thinking of the nuclear option, I think is how they described it, of Martin McGuinness resigning and causing an election. If that's based on the principle that they think that they would be the largest party, that mightn't be the best decision for them to take.
And I've heard that you perhaps advised Sean Woodward that if there was to be an early Assembly election, it would be best to have it coincidental with the general election. Is that the case?
Well, I think that the election comes when the election comes. We'll take it in our stride. I think there are a lot of advantages if we're going to have an assembly election. I don't want to have an assembly election until its due date, but if we're going to have 2 elections in the year, I think rather than dragging the electorate out, that might be one of the possible outcomes. But that's a matter entirely for the Secretary of State.